Hello guys, this is Miguel, and if you build Power Automate cloud flows, sooner or later you already know one of your flows will fail. Maybe a connector isn't available, maybe an approval times out, maybe a SharePoint column changed, maybe a Dataverse record is missing, maybe an API returns a 500 error. Or maybe even a flow technically runs, but the business process should not continue. And the problem is not the flow fails, the problem is it fails silently. When nobody understands what happened, when the person supporting the process has to open like 500 run history logs in order to understand what happened. This is not fair for a developer. So I want to make the developers work easier. In this video, I will show you how I think about error handling on Power Automate cloud flows. Hi guys, it's me, Miguel. I work with Power Platform Microsoft Dynamics 365 for more than 6 years with Dynamics, Power Platform, Power Automate Cloud Flows, Power Automate Desktop, model-driven apps in Microsoft Dynamics, etc., etc. So, in these scenarios, a flow is only reliable when it's prepared for things to go wrong. So today I want to show you the framework I use for errors in Power Automate Cloud Flows. This is just not about fixing failed runs. It's about building flows that are easy to monitor, easier to debug, easier to support. And the first thing I like to do is separate these two types of errors, like I showed you before. So you have technical errors and then you have business errors. A technical error is when someone fails from a system perspective. Examples: a connector fails, a HTTP request returns an error, a Dataverse action fails, a SharePoint item cannot be updated, a file is locked, a connection has expired. There's a ton of them. I'm not reading what's in the screen because there's another errors right here. These are technical failures. The automation basically tried to do something, but the system could not complete that action. The business error is something different. A business error happens when the flow is technically working, but the process should not continue. For example, an invoice is missing a mandatory field. A custom record does not exist. An approval was rejected, for example, or the amount of a certain condition is above a certain limit. In this case, the flow might not be broken. The business rule is simply telling us that we need to stop, log the situation, notify someone, or move the item to an exception queue, for example, or a list of errors that should be treated later. The difference is important because not every error should be handled the same way. Some errors should be retried, some errors should stop the flow, some errors should notify support, and some errors should be notified by business users. Now the main pattern that I want to show you guys is the pattern try, catch, and finally. So basically, this is a group of scopes that are put together, and if you come from a development background, this will feel quite familiar. So, in these three scopes, the first one is named the try scope. The try scope contains the main logic of the flow, where all the process goes, where the validation goes, all the math goes, everything that happens here. It's 90% of the time. This is where I place the actions that should happen when everything goes well. For example, get an item, validate ideas, create Dataverse records. There's a ton of them. That's 90% of the work here. The catch scope contains the error handling logic. So, on the error handling, this is what should happen if something inside the try scope fails. And then later you have the finally scope. The finally scope is the result, what should happen after the try scope or the catch scope. So these will connect the two scopes. These are the actions that run at the end, regardless whether the flow succeeded or failed. This is not the most important one. The most important are the try and the catch. So I will tell you guys how to configure this. This is the most important part right here. So let me just zoom it out, aim on the classic view, then you have the modern view that you can freeze the video, or I'll tell you later about it. So for the catch scope, I will configure it to run after the catch scope. It only runs basically if something goes wrong on the try scope. And this is with the configuration configure run after. This means that if something inside the try scope goes wrong, the catch scope, which is the following after the try scope, will run automatically. Then in the finally scope, that's the same thing. It will run after the try and the catch scope, depending of the structure of the flow. The idea is simple. Try to run the business process. If it fails, it catches an error. Then the run finally actions run before the flow ends. This gives us like cloud flows, much cleaner structure, and it organizes the errors. So with that said, the flow is built for failing. So in these scenarios, basically, if you want the catch scope to run for the scenarios where the try to the try scope, when it is failed, it's skipped or timeout. That's the essence of it. And in finally scope, you just check all the boxes because you want to run it no matter what. This is super simple. You just have to click on the plus signal between the activities and you add the activity named scope. Then you go to the three dots and you just configure this. It's that simple. So I'll give you guys now a very cool tip like you see here. So on the catch scope, if you don't want to be lost on the run history and see 1,000 of run histories and try to understand where it goes wrong because it could have like a ton of errors, you just add this activity. You add like a send email activity where you put inside the catch scope, and inside the catch scope you just need to put obviously a list of people that want you to be notified about this error, and then you put this simple message, and inside the message in this activity you put this function. So with this function, when a person receives this email, it clicks on this function, it will be an hyperlink and it will be notified about, and just clicks on the link and it will be redirected immediately to the flow that has failed. So this is my 2 cents about it. I hope you learned something about it, the try, catch and finally failure structure. If you want me or my team to develop Microsoft solutions or automations for you, I will leave my contacts below. If this video was useful, subscribe to the channel because I will be sharing more practical videos about Power Automate, Power Platform, Microsoft Dynamics, real-world examples and my areas of expertise. And let me know in the comments if you use these scopes for error handling or if you use other structure. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye!